Hey guys, Sonic Smash Bro here, and the unthinkable has happened. King of Games, entirely with Rose Dragon. And no 10 package either. But it did come at one small price, having to go well over 20 cards, 25 to be exact. We'll get to why in a moment, but first, let's look at one of my favorite skills in the entire game. I love this skill, I genuinely love this skill, Spell of Roses. Send one Rose Dragon monster, Witch of the Black Rose, or Rose Fairy from your hand to the graveyard. Then add a Rose Dragon from your deck to your hand. Then, you can add Rose Fairy from outside of your deck to the top or bottom of the deck if you so choose. Bear in mind, you don't have to add the Rose Fairy. Most of the time you won't. On the turn you use this skill, you cannot special summon monsters from the extra deck except for synchro monsters. And the skill can only be used once per duel, and only if you begin the duel with a deck excluding the extra deck that contains at least 10 in combination of Tuner or Rose Dragon monsters. It's a simple skill, but it's so good. But first, let's talk about the elephant in the room. The entire reason we have to play so many cards. The One Magician's Robe. You can probably guess why we play this. During your opponent's turn, you can discard one spell or trap, special summon Dark Magician from your deck, and it's a quick effect, but we're not using it for that at all. The main use is, during the opponent's turn, if you activate a spell or trap card or effect, while this card is in your graveyard, you can special summon it, but banish it when it leaves the field, and each effect is once per turn. The only reason we play this, we have to play Shooting Riser Dragon again for Lunalights. Most of the Lunalight fusions cannot be targeted by card effects, so we need non-targeting removal on the opponent's turn. You see the problem here? This means needing the Shooting Riser Dragon, which means needing the Magician's Robe, which means needing to go well over the usual card count, because if you draw this, it's a dead card 100% of the time. And if you draw this and another card we'll be seeing later, you may as well just surrender. There is basically nothing you can do most of the time. But anyway, on to the main cards themselves, starting with Triple Rocks Rose Dragon. If this card is normal or special summoned, you can add one card that mentions Black Rose Dragon from your deck to your hand, except for Rocks Rose Dragon. While this card is in your graveyard, if a face-up Rose Dragon monster or plant-type synchro monster you control is destroyed by battle or an opponent's card effect, you can add this card to your hand, and each effect is once per turn. Next up, the One Ruddy Rose Witch. You can tribute this card, add one Witch of the Black Rose from your deck to your hand, and if you do, take one level 3 or lower plant-type monster from your deck and place it on top of your deck. Then, immediately after this effect resolves, you can normal summon one Witch of the Black Rose from your hand. You can banish this card from your graveyard, return one of your Black Rose Dragon or Ruddy Rose Dragon that is banished or in your graveyard to the extra deck, and each effect is once per turn. Most of the time, we're not using it for the effects themselves. You'll see what I mean later. Although, sometimes you will have to. Triple White Rose Dragon. When this card is normal summoned, you can special summon one Rose Dragon monster from your hand or graveyard except for White Rose Dragon. And each of the following effects is once per turn. If you control a Dragon type or Plant type tuner monster, you can special summon this card from your hand. If it's sent to the grave as synchro material, you can send one level 4 or higher Plant type monster from your deck to the graveyard. Arguably the best normal summon in the entire deck, let's be honest here. But now, Witch of the Black Rose. Cannot be special summoned. If this card is normal summoned and you control no other cards, draw one card and show it. Then if it's not a monster, send it to the graveyard, also destroy this card. It is a risk if we have no choice but to do this on our first turn and rely on back row, but most of the time, we're stacking the deck if we have to summon this. And here's the real beauty of where Ruddy Rose Witch can shine. The One World Carrot Weight Champion. If this card is in your graveyard, you can send one face-up plant-type monster from your field, or one from your hand, to the graveyard, except for World Carrot Weight Champion, and special summon this card from your graveyard, and this effect is once per turn. It might not seem like it, but this comes in clutch way too often. It is too good to pass up 90% of the time. to where it's arguably a must-have in this deck regardless. 2 blue Rose Dragons, because honestly, it's the worst of the Rose Dragons by far, so you don't want to see too many of them. When this card on the field is destroyed and sent to the graveyard, you can target 1 Black Rose Dragon, or 1 plant-type monster in your graveyard, and special summon that target. Pretty decent, but it doesn't come up too often. That's it for monsters. On to spells. Triple Basil Rose Shoot. Yeah, this deck is unfortunately a little bit on the expensive side, and it's not free to play. This and Rocks Rose are why, unfortunately. Special summon 1 Rose Dragon monster from your hand or graveyard in defense position. If this set card is destroyed, you can target 1 of your Black Rose Dragons, or 1 monster that mentions it that is banished or in your graveyard, and special summon it, and each effect is once per turn. This is nasty if you can get the situations just right. Double Forbidden Lance, target a face-up monster on the field until the end of this turn. That target loses 800 attack, but it's unaffected by the effects of other spell and trap cards. And Triple Cosmic Cyclone, pay 1,000, target a spell or trap on the field and banish it. Back row is still a big problem, but more importantly, field spells, Toon Kingdom, Orchestrated Babble, Necro Valley, I've seen that running around again, and a couple of others to name a few, and some I'm probably missing. But even then, back row will always be a big issue. Double Forbidden Chalice. Target a face-up monster on the field until the end of this turn. It gains 400 attack, but the effects are negated. And lastly, our traps. R3, Limit 3'd, Compulsory Evacuation Device. Target a monster on the field, return it to the hand. There is one reason we absolutely have to play Compulsory, and no other Limit 3 trap will do. If you run into Neos Ubel, you auto-lose without this. Neos Kluger is way too powerful to ignore. But if you banish it, it still floats into Neos Wiseman. So we need to just keep that thing off the field at all times. That's it for the main deck. Onto the extra deck. We're starting with Trishula, Zero Dragon of the Ice Barrier. When this card is Synchro Summoned, you can banish up to 3 cards your opponent controls. If this Synchro Summoned card in its owner's control is destroyed by an opponent's card, you can special summon 1 Trishula, Dragon of the Ice Barrier, from your extra deck or graveyard. Its attack becomes 3,300, then have the attack of any face-up monsters your opponent currently controls also negate their effects, and this is once per turn. Yeah, that float is so good, no one sees it coming, and it's so oppressive. Unfortunately, we really don't have a way to use it because Trishula is limit 1 and so is Shooting Riser Dragon. So, this ends up becoming more of a win condition on the opponent's turn to break their board. Ruddy Rose Dragon. If this card is Synchro Summoned, you can banish all cards from both graveyards. Then, if this card was Synchro Summoned using Black Rose Dragon or a plant-type Synchro monster as material, you can destroy all of the cards on the field. When your opponent activates a card or effect that will destroy a card or cards, you contribute this card, negate the activation, then you can special summon 1 Black Rose Dragon from your extra deck or graveyard. If you're dealing with Blackluster Soldier and you go first, you want to go into this turn 1 if you can, because you basically shut down their entire core of the deck. Clearwing Synchro Dragon. Yeah, from here on out, it's a level 7 Synchro toolbox. Once per turn during either player's turn, when another level 5 or higher monster activates its effect on the field, you can negate the activation, and if you do, destroy that monster. And once per turn during either player's turn, when a monster effect is activated that targets exactly 1 level 5 or higher monster on the field and no other cards, you can negate the activation. If you do, destroy that monster. If this card's effects destroyed any monsters, this card gains attack equal to the destroyed monster's original attack until the end of this turn. Pretty nice, but it doesn't come up as often as you would think. It can happen in a pinch, though. Black Rose Dragon, the main event itself. When this card is Synchro Summoned, you can destroy all cards on the field. And once per turn, you can banish 1 plant-type monster from your graveyard, then target 1 defense position monster your opponent controls, change that target to face-up attack position, and if you do, its attack becomes 0 until the end of the turn. If you're dealing with Lunalight Cat Dancer on your opponent's first turn, and you can get this off with World Carrot Weight on the field, you've won. you've just won. Because you can turn Cat Dancer's battle protection against them. It's nasty. And even then, there are other times where this can come up too. So don't underestimate this effect. It can come up in a pinch, as can the destruction effect. Of course, the Limit 1 Shooting Riser Dragon. If this card is Synchro Summoned, you can send one monster from your deck to the graveyard, whose level is lower than this card's on the field, and if you do, reduce this card's level by that monster's level. But for the rest of the turn, you cannot activate the effects of monsters with the same name the sent monster had in the graveyard. And, once per chain during the opponent's main phase, you can just Excel Synchro. Yeah, we're doing a lot of Excel Synchro plays here in 5D's world, can't you tell? Yazi, Evil of the Yang Zing, originally Selection Box exclusive, and it's finally freed from that hellhole. Anyway, cannot be targeted by an opponent's card effects. This is actually a big deal. Especially if, for some reason, you still run into magical muskets. What can they do about this? But anyway, moving on. Each of the following effects of Yazi is once per turn. You can target one Yang Zing monster you control and one card your opponent controls and destroy them. When this card you control is destroyed by battle or card effect and sent to your graveyard, you can special summon one Worm-type monster from your deck in defense position. I wish we had Nairmare, but we don't. Oh well. Sideframe Lord Zeta, don't underestimate this one either. Once per turn during either player's turn, you can target one special summon monster your opponent controls in face-up attack position, banish both that monster and this card from the field, but return them in your next standby phase. If this card is in your graveyard, you can target one other Sideframe card in your graveyard, return this card to the extra deck, and if you do, add that Sideframe card to your hand. Really, this is just a great counter to Links. Links in general are super prominent right now, and this just hard counters a good number of them. Samurai Destroyer, another card you really shouldn't underestimate, and I believe this is the last card of the deck too. If this card battles an opponent's monster, your opponent cannot activate cards or effects until the end of the damage step. Also, that opponent's monster has its effects negated during the battle phase only. If this face-up card in its owner's control leaves the field because of an opponent's card effect, you can target one machine-type monster in your graveyard and special summon it. Notice, it's a machine type. So this can bring itself back. It's ridiculous, and I love it. And yeah, that is it for the deck. Unfortunately, I can't really think of alternatives. I mean, to be fair, there is one. Where are you? The Limit 1 Trishula Dragon of the Ice Barrier. When this card is Synchro Summoned, you can banish up to one card each from your opponent's hand, field, and graveyard. The card in hand is chosen at random. Use this as a float-in from Trishula 0. But we can't play it right now because we need the Limit 1 Shooting Riser Dragon. But what can you do? Anyway, on to replays. And I've got two bonus ones that I'd like to show. But I also kind of had to show them this time. You'll see what I mean later. We'll come over here because, yeah, this duel is a good example of what I mean by Ruddy Rose just being a win condition sometimes. We are dealing with Blackluster Soldier.
Here I go!
I learned some.
It's time to
Duel! My turn!
So,
Master this
here's how this one's going to work. I unfortunately drew the one rogue.
I activate my monster's effect. I summon the tuner monster, Witch of the Black Road. Witch of the
So
Black
one of the rare
Road's
times we
effect.
actually use Witch of the Black Roads, and as mentioned, we do stack the deck.
To my hand. Roseberry!
In this case, we go Sideframe Lord Zeta. I really shouldn't have done that from that position.
Now, I activate my monster's effect.
But I guess to be fair, it really doesn't matter.
I activate my. Here I go. I set. What shall I do? I synchro. I activate activate my monster. I activate
And we're gonna
my
thin the deck out as
monster's
much as possible.
effect. I'll end my turn.
It's my turn. I draw. I'm counting on you. I summon a monster
my
in attack
chance.
position.
I summon Blue
My
Rose
monster's
Dragon.
effect activates.
We bring back the blue rose here for a specific reason.
I set a card.
Don't think so. What shall I do?
Yeah,
I synchro summon a monster.
it was a just-in-case play mostly, but here I wanted to just get rid of any and all potential ritual plays that could have happened.
Let's battle. Here
Now,
my
Endymion
monster's effect activates.
Is equipped with Varam, so when it battles a monster, Varam can trigger to destroy that monster. About that.
Black Rose Dragon.
My turn.
Hello.
My turn. I draw now. I summon
White Rose comes out
my monster's effect.
and brings back our Ruddy Rose.
My special here I go. Let's
I
battle.
expected you to do that. I reveal
Unfortunately,
Blue Rose
Crackdown
Dragon.
kind of had to get in the way.
my monster's effect.
Feel the
One
power
of
my
the
Black Rose
single
Dragon.
most toxic cards in the entire
My
game.
turn.
From here I go.
So we're kind of stuck in a
Now's
stalemate,
the time. My monster's effect activates.
meaning he can stall for whatever win condition he so chooses. In this case, however, he has to fish for Chaos form, or Legendary
Monster's
Swordsman.
effect activates. Let's battle. Here we go. I attack with a monster. My turn is
Here
done.
I go. It's my turn. I draw. I summon Blue Rose Battle. You best get out of my way. I end my
I
turn.
refuse to lose.
You're up.
I still believe now's the time. My monster's effect activates. My monster's
And
effect
second
activates.
verse, same as the first.
I set this. That's the end.
I have to stay focused. I draw. Now. I activate my monster's effect.
Exactly
And the
what I was
unlimited
waiting
limit 3 trap.
for. I use my face down card. My trap activates.
Battle. You best get out of my way. I end my
I
turn.
refuse to lose.
You're
I
up.
still believe in from my hand.
So, annoyingly,
I activate
Book
a
of
quick
Moon
play spell.
nullifies Crackdown,
Time to battle. Here we go.
meaning
My monster attacks.
he has control over
Is
Ruddy
that all
Rose,
you got?
and on top of that, it can attack.
My turn. I draw. What shall I
That
do?
White Rose off the top,
I activate,
basically all that could have saved me.
I activate my monster's effect. Here I go. I synchro summon a monster. I activate my monster's effect.
I may have.
I know.
And that face down was cosmic, by the way. But now, onto a bonus replay where I want to show this to give a bit of a shout out because this is such a cool idea. Like, this is honestly the coolest idea I've ever seen for Blue Eyes. It's not your standard Blue Eyes. Neither the Ultimate Dragons variant, where it's mainly relying on its fusions, nor the Blue Eyes Dimension variant that's kind of reliant on stalling for Chaos Max,
Only option.
I learned
or just
something
having a
new
bunch of
every
beat
duel.
sticks.
Whatever your reason for dueling me, you better not waste my time by holding back.
Duel.
Here I go, from my hand. I
So he's
activate
gonna
a
activate
field spell.
Mausoleum of White.
The souls of my dragons guide a new one to me. Come on out. Blue Eyes Alternative White Dragon.
Blue Eyes Alternative, and let's let that summon animation play out because honestly, it's kind of neat. Unfortunately, this means we don't get to hear the DSOD Kaiba theme for very long, even though it is one of the best tracks in the game.
Here he comes. I activate my monster's effect. Come on out. Synchro summon.
Summons Blue Eyes Spirit Dragon from a Synchro Summon, and then gets rid of it immediately to bring out Ancient Fairy Dragon.
I activate my monster's effect. I activate my monster's effect.
destroys the Mausoleum of White, adds Dragon Ravine, I'm not kidding,
I activate a field spell. Here it comes.
sends Whitestone of, I believe that's Ancients, to the grave, brings out Crystal Wing,
I activate my monsters.
and yeah, that is Whitestone of Ancients,
Special. I activate my monsters.
and then brings out Blue Eyes Abyss Dragon to grab Deep Eyes
My turn.
My turn.
and pass turn. Yeah, this is full on Blue Eyes Synchro, folks.
I activate my
You
monster's
have to
effect.
try harder than that.
From my hand,
I activate my monsters
activate a
effect.
quick play spell. I special summon a monster. I activate
So,
my
force out the
monster's
Crystal Wing
effect.
negate, you know how that goes.
I activate my monster. I special a cold flame envelops the world. Black, come forth. I activate my monster's effect. Black Rose.
We'll show the
Dragon's
Black Rose
effect.
Dragon summon animation later because it actually came up in a rather poetic way.
Cards are destroyed. I'll set a card. I'll end my
And this
turn.
is a case where resetting to neutral was pretty much as good as we were gonna do.
I activate my monsters effect.
Searches Master with Eyes of Blue.
I activate my monsters effect. Emerge. Dragon Spirit of White's effect. Activate.
Exactly what I expected. I don't think so. I activate my monster's effect.
I activate my monsters effect. Here it comes. Let's back get him. Attack. I activate my monsters effect. I end my turn.
My turn.
Make your move.
I draw now. I activate my monster's effect. From my hand,
We're gonna use Basil Rose Shoot to bring out Black Rose.
what shall I
Because in this case, we really do not want that Whitestone of Ancients in the grave.
monster's effect.
We basically need to get rid of it. But because I know he has Deep Eyes, we're also gonna destroy every
Will
card.
make you feel the fury. Deep Eyes White Dragon. Deep Eyes. Inherit the power of the
I'll set
dragon in my graveyard.
That I'll attack with this. I'll end my
Here
turn.
I go.
So this puts us in a pretty alright position.
Show yourself. Show yourself. Link summon.
Plays Glow Up Bulb for some reason, gets Link Karibo out,
Go.
Make your
It's
move.
my I draw. I flip over my face.
and the compulsory into Blue Rose is gonna be what does it.
You dare it.
I have friends.
But you know, this was such a cool idea. Major props, because that was honestly creative. I love seeing stuff like that. That is honestly really cool. But now we get into the reason why I kinda had to show these replays. Roughly about 40 plus attempts later, I finally got a successful run. Unfortunately, 2 of them I didn't really get to do anything. You're gonna see why.
I no longer need this. Maybe I'll duel. My turn. This can't be true.
Yeah, he scooped immediately. Probably bricked. And good thing too, because if he didn't, we would have been seeing arguably maybe even my most hated deck of all time. Infernoid. So I don't care. I'm glad that worked out the way it did. I don't feel like dealing with that. Ever again. Yeah, we're gonna see some weird stuff this climb. Trust me. Next up, we have Trap Burn.
I no longer
Very well.
duel.
Yeah, you heard me right.
Prepare yourself. I set my card.
Let's see how hard we can get through this back row. Or will it burn us down before we can even get there?
I'll master this. I summon
Yeah, here I kinda had no
Witch of the
choice.
Black Rose
It's Witch of the Black Rose time.
Upon your doom.
Chain reaction. Every time a trap is activated, 200 life points are gone.
I added Rose Berry to my hand. Rose Berry!
That's a
And this is mostly relying on the Paleozoics.
upon you. You took the bait. My trap. Come out! I
I'll
special
set
summon a
card.
monster.
I'll end my turn.
Prepare yourself. Draw. I set my. Come out! I special summon a monster.
So, induct the World Chalice Dragon. I do need the Chalice here.
I play my exactly what I expect.
End phase kicks in, and I choose to go Blue Rose here.
Here I go.
I have a reason for this. Bear with me here.
I summon the tuner monster. Here I
Attempt
go.
to go Trishula Zero,
Summon a monster.
and the unlimited Limit 3 trap strikes again.
Bear with. Look upon your doom. My trap. A new horror awaits you. I special.
I summon Blue Rose Dragon.
You took the bait. Judgment.
And just straight up throw out the bottomless trap hole pretty much immediately.
And now, I special
Set a
summon a
card.
monster.
I'll end my turn.
You're falling into my trap. Draw.
So considering that this was Dino Miscus in the back there,
Special summon a monster.
he basically threw by going Nightmare Unicorn.
My monster's effect activates.
I knew you'd do that. I flip over my face down card. I activate a quick
Guess he just wanted to have a big body on board.
Here's my face down.
Wait, no, that wasn't Dino Miscus, it was Windstorm.
Rains upon you. My trap activates.
Must have been later where that happened.
New horror awaits you. Let's
I know Dino Miscus showed up at least once,
cut you down. Prepare to strike.
but now we're in prime position.
I can't let fear overtake me. I draw. I activate my monster's effect. From my hand, I summon Blue Rose now.
This is where Yazi gets to come out and play. Remember, this thing can't be targeted by an opponent's card effects.
Here goes.
Most of the Paleozoics, if not all of them, target.
End my
How
turn.
much more
This
punishment
feels
are you
like
willing to
bad
take?
news.
I draw. I set my.
Okay, no,
face
this
down.
one was Dino Miscus.
I end my turn.
Can't let fear overtake. Draw. Here I go. Here I go. I'll attack with this. I'll attack with this. I end my turn.
I'm not out of
This
options
feels
yet.
like bad news.
You pretty much are.
My turn is complete.
My turn. I draw. From my hand.
Especially thanks to that Cosmic.
Behold.
So there's the Dino Miscus I was mentioning earlier.
Here I go. I activate my monster's effect.
I don't know why I grabbed Ruddy Rose, considering, well,
You best get out of my
Carrot Weight just got banished, but oh well.
I can't stop you.
But yeah, Yazi came in clutch. Next up, we get to see another new deck. Also, pardon if you hear some sort of sound in the back, that's the heating fan. It's wintertime around here, folks.
I want to know what.
Let me educate you on the
Duel!
I'll give you a. Here's an example of proper dueling technique. Let's see. From my. I ritual.
And so,
Monster.
Magic-y.
My monster's effect activates.
Now, I do a big stupid here. I completely misplay.
My hand. I activate a field spell. My monster's effect activates. I synchro summon a monster.
So he manages to get out Void Ogre Dragon, because, you know, Magic-y is annoying.
Monster's effect activates.
I'm surprised he did not go Draco Berserker of the Tenyi, because for some reason they get to play that.
Example of proper dueling.
I hate Tenyi so freaking much. I've barely beaten it a couple of times.
I set a card face down.
And Magic-y unlocking. There's their counter trap.
Field spell.
And just to make sure that Void Ogre is live,
My turn.
set their fusion/ritual spell.
From my
Also,
hand,
did I forget to mention their magic key ritual is a freaking
quick
tuner?
spell.
Yeah, I waste this cosmic here. I don't know why I did that. But thankfully he throws right back.
I activate my monster's effect.
And destroys White Rose on sight. I don't know why he did that.
I activate my monster's effect.
Maybe he was banking on me not having another White Rose?
Activate my monster's effect now. I special effect of cold flame envelops the world. Black, come forth. Black.
And this is where we'll let the summon
dragon.
animation play out. Mainly because, yeah. This is probably the most poetic time for that to happen.
I can't stop it.
So yeah, at that point, he had nothing left. But now, it's time for some fun. Look familiar? It's Speedroid hours.
I no longer need this.
You want to know my...
Duel!
Let's duel! Here I go! I activate my monster's effect!
So, Petch's double win. And you know how Speedroid tends to end their combos, Crystal Wing and Clear Wing. But we're going to do things a little bit differently here. A card I talked about in my own Speedroid profile but I myself did not use, Speedroid Horse still gets to come out and play.
Tuner monster! Speedroid, beat your wings to whip up a whirlwind of
And that makes you
destruction.
wonder why he didn't just
Level
pitch the Den
7
Den
Clear
Daigo.
Wing Synchro Dragon! The duel is
We've seen Clear
always
Wing before.
unpredictable. Speedroid Take Tomboard! I activate Take Tomboard's effect. The Tuner Monster! Speedroid Fuki Madoshi!
Fuki Madoshi gets a triple
I activate
search.
its effect.
Doesn't take the Karma Cut, instead takes the land.
Beat your wings to whip up a whirlwind of destruction. Level 7 clear. Pave the way for the monster forged by rock. Take flight. I set a cup. That brings my
Here
turn.
I
And
go.
so Crystal
It's
Wing.
my turn. I draw. This is my.
And here's where things get a little bit weird.
Here I go.
What shocks me
I activate my monster's effect.
is he just let the Rocks Rose go
My
through.
hand, I activate. I summon Blue Rose. Here I go.
But we're gonna go into
summon
Samurai
a
Destroyer.
monster. I'll set a card. I'll set a card. I'll set a card. Here I go. You best get out of my way.
Prevents effects from activating.
I'll end my
You're
turn.
in for it now.
And
I
keep that in
draw.
mind.
Let's battle. Attack
Watch here.
Crystal Wing Synchro Dragon.
He made a dumb mistake.
Crystal Cataclysmic Strike.
Since Samurai Destroyer was live, compulsory, and he can't lance.
Don't think so.
Rin will be mad if she learns I barely put up a fight.
Yeah, you kinda got schooled. And I would have gone Black Rose just to make things a little more poetic. Or even Ruddy Rose if I could have gotten away with it. But the rank up is kind of where things got a bit disappointing. A bit annoying, but hey. Managed to dodge getting cheesed. You'll see what I mean in a second. Yeah, there's a reason I showed
I
two
learn
bonus
something new
replays.
Every duel.
I know it's your luck.
Duel.
From my hand, I activate
Into
a
the
spell
void, and
from
you know
my
that
hand.
can't be good when you see that.
I activate a spell.
Let alone multiples of it.
I activate a continuous spell.
Yeah, if this looks familiar,
I summon a
it's
monster
because,
in attack
yes,
position.
he's trying for the Fortune Lady FTK. And no, I don't mean OTK, I mean FTK.
I activate
an equip spell. I activate my monster. Monster Reborn. Show yourself. I activate my monster's effect. From my hand, I activate a spell. How's this possible? My
And
team
right
is
there is,
clearly
I
better
think,
than
where it
yours.
failed.
I no longer.
To be fair, I had game. But, yeah. I wish it didn't end like that, but I'll take it at this point. I really don't care. Because if I'm gonna be honest, my thoughts on Rose Dragon are as follows. Is it fun? Absolutely. Hey, work with me. Anyway, is it fun? Absolutely. I love me some Rose Dragons. Unfortunately, it's also really stressful to play in a high level. Getting through the ranked climb with this was honestly one of the most frustrating things I've ever done. If I'm gonna be honest, Rose Dragon, in all seriousness, without the 10G package, which I refuse, is not exactly good. It's not really all that viable. Because here's the thing. If you don't play the Riser, you have no outs to a lot of stuff. Neoshu Bell is also a thing, and that just hard shuts you down regardless, unless you have compulsory. You have to play too many cards to deal with too many relevant situations, which means you're not going to be as consistent as you would like to be. More importantly, you really just don't have easy access to monsters most of the time, especially once you've committed to the Ruddy Rose Vanish. It's definitely consistent if you can see the combo lines to actually win in those moments, but you need to play them perfectly, and sometimes that's still not enough. Don't get me wrong, it can be done. But in all honesty, I can't really say I recommend Rose Dragon. It's a fun deck, don't get me wrong, but its consistency issues and having to deal with too many meta decks that just it cannot deal with is a bit of an annoyance. Its one major claim to fame is hard shutting down Blackluster Soldier, which is insanely good, don't get me wrong. But when you're dealing with stuff like Crusadia, Tengi, and even though you realistically should have a good matchup in the Tengi, you still lose that. But there's so many situations where it feels like you shouldn't be losing so badly, and yet you're going to anyway. And sometimes, even if you see a combo line and you play it perfectly, it still might not be enough because of potential other back row threats, or if you misplay even slightly, it can and will screw you over. It's a very easy deck to misplay with, and that is a major problem. And also, as mentioned, if you draw the 1 carat weight, you might be able to play, but if you draw the robe, it's dead. And if you draw both, you really can't do anything. That's just the way it goes sometimes. Yeah, the deck can be a little bit too prone to bricks depending on the situation, which is a major negative in and of itself. But when it gets going, it can steamroll, it can board break, it can even do some really nasty win conditions with stuff like Black Rose Dragon and Samurai Destroyer on a Lunalite Blue Cat, or even like Cat Dancer, for example. If you want to even go there are rare times where that defense to attack and make attack 0 effect of Black Rose Dragon can come up even outside of that. The destruction effect returning to neutral, while you still have back row potentially, is incredibly good. Like, there are some great things about Rose Dragon. Don't ever get me wrong. It's just in terms of consistency versus what's relevant, that's where it falters. There are some matchups it can do pretty well in if you get the right situations and the right cards. There are some matchups where you just hard shut them down, looking at you, Blackluster Soldier. And there are some that are just a massive struggle no matter what you do. Tengi and Crusadia should have been hit on the ban list coming up. I'll talk about that another time. But I got Toho Lost Words to prepare for because Lady Sakuya is in a couple of days. Anyway, final thoughts on Rose Dragon. Fun, yes. Definitely got its power behind it. But what it has a hard time keeping up. And it's definitely a struggle to play. It can be done, but you really... I feel like you have to avoid some of the meta matchups a lot of the time. Just to actually get a good shot at ranking up. But what can you do? Sometimes that's just how it goes. But with that, until the next video, which I guarantee you is going to be the Lost Word poll for LAD Sakuya, and then I'll discuss the ban list, probably when it drops into actual effect. Well, we'll see how that goes. Until the next video, later guys.